Realme made a statement with the X2 Pro late last year, proving that they meant business in the flagship killer space. The X50 Pro 5G is an update and improvement on the winner of last year's Best of Android awards. It's a step up from what we've seen from Realme in the past. And let me talk to you about it. The biggest improvement that the guys at Realme have made can be found in its exterior. The smooth matte glass finish gives the phone a uniquely subtle look that many will appreciate in the sea of shiny and funky colours. When it catches the light a certain way, it brightens up and makes for a nice effect. The fit and finish of the rest of the phone is spot on, with no creaks, no rattles or any flecks. It feels like a bit of a unit, and that 207 gram weight certainly backs it up. That being said, it's not perfect. It hasn't got the thinnest bezels in the world, and the design as a whole is a little bit dated, especially on the rear, because stripping that colour away, the placement of the Realme logo and the camera module look like they've been copied from the past few Realmes, making the X50 Pro 5G blend in and look kind of close to a Realme 5, which is a completely different handset. The only place it doesn't look the same as other Realmes is at the front with the punch hole, which is something we haven't seen from the company in the past. Similar to past Realmes, we have a 6.5 inch Full HD 90Hz AMOLED display, a 4200 mAh battery, and some of the best specs in the business. This time around there's a Snapdragon 865, up to 12GB of RAM, 256GB of storage, 65 fast charging. It's got the full Monty. Something that we haven't seen from Realme before is 5G, and as you probably guessed from the title, this phone has it. Sub 6 is what's being offered here, and given that and the rest of the specs at this price, it's something that we haven't seen before. Realme is kind of breaking the mold here. And something that I really have to give the company praise for, it's its continuation in making the software really good. ColorOS is what was used right at the start of the Realme smartphones, and if we're all honest, it wasn't very good. It had lots of bloat applications, there was too much going on, and it didn't feel very clean. Realme UI has stepped up in the past 6 months to a point where this is a MIUI, One UI and EMUI competitor IMO. They've cleared out tons of bloatware, including that infamous Hot Apps app folder thing. That's gone now. The software as a whole feels so much cleaner and closer to stock, and it definitely behaves that way as well. They've cleared out tons of bloatware and introduced a cleaner, subtler, more sophisticated aesthetic to their interface. The phone is launching with Android 10, and a combination of this and its tricked out internals mean that this phone is very quick. Performance, as expected by looking at the spec sheet, is really good. However, I did have a small problem with the camera, where the camera app would crash if I was switching from photo to video. This is something that should be able to be fixed in a software update. However, it stood out and marred an otherwise very faultless experience, including a day and a half battery life thanks to the 4200 mAh battery. But the real star of the show here is the 65 watt super dart charging that takes the X50 Pro 5G from 0 to 100 in 45 minutes and 0 to 90% in 30 minutes. And if you're stopping there and thinking those numbers seem a little bit off, it's because up to 90% the phone charges normally, which is to say very quickly. But then after that, Realme trickle charges the smartphone to prolong the overall battery health, which is quite a smart move. So far, the X50 Pro 5G is at the level of the OnePlus 7T, if not beating the OnePlus 7T in a lot of cases thanks to its newer spec sheet. But we need to talk about the cameras, because that tends to be a flagship killer's Achilles heel. We're treated to a quad camera layout on the back. There's a 64 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide, 12 megapixel telephoto, and a 2 megapixel black and white camera to aid with portrait mode. Up front, there's a dual camera layout featuring a 32 megapixel main sensor and an 8 megapixel ultra wide. With 6 cameras in total, there's a lot of versatility, which is only then helped by the feature-rich app. The camera system as a whole seems pretty good, but, and I can't believe I'm saying this, it feels like we're going backwards from the X2 Pro. The images that the X50 Pro 5G takes are okay in good conditions, meaning overcast with soft lighting. It even manages to get the colours of dreary Britain right. But, and there is a but, in brighter conditions where more dynamic range is needed, things don't go so well. The shadows are almost instantly crushed as the phone exposes for the brighter parts of the scene, and so you lose quite a bit of detail. There seems to be too much contrast, too much noise reduction, and too much noise, funnily enough. Realme's website tells us that this phone can do 20 times hybrid zoom. Keep that in mind and now look at these 5x zoom photos. It's doing some radical sharpening in post, which results in these almost cartoon-like photos. Flipping over to the front, you'd hope that things would get better, but no. I mean, there is detail there, at least with the main sensor, and portrait mode isn't half bad, but dynamic range is shocking. These photos were taken on a heavily overcast day in my garden, and look how blown out the sky and the side of the house is. Switching to the ultra wide results in more noise reduction, and somehow worse dynamic range, but the benefit of a wider field of view. Overall, I'm not impressed with this camera system, but it is something that seems to be able to be fixed in software. The hardware should be, on paper, enough to create some pretty decent images. And I've seen how far Realme's UI has come on in just the past 6 months, and that makes me positive that they should be able to fix this camera problem in software alone in the next 6 months. And once they do that, OnePlus really needs to up its game. Right now though, with the newer lifted pricing, it's just not quite there for an up to €750 device. And that's my review of the X50 Pro 5G, a flagship killer in every aspect other than the camera. Let us know what you thought of this review in the comment section below. Please do check out the full written article in the description, and like and subscribe whilst you're down there to never miss a video like this one. I've been Ryan Thomas with Android Authority, and I'll see you later. Peace.